Hi, Aaron Anastasi here from Superior Singing Method. Welcome back. This is my series here on the psychology of being a singer. Okay, so it's a little different than tips and tricks and that kind of stuff, which I think is great, and exercises, all that. This is more the psychology behind what motivates you to actually accomplish this goal. So yeah, you want to have the techniques and all that stuff, absolutely. But the psychology of it, the things that keep us stuck and out of action, out of actually getting to the place we want to be, is I think just as important, if not more important in some cases. So this I'm calling permission versus choice. Permission versus choice. Well, one of my favorite coaches, he's like a life coach kind of guy. He talks about the idea that from childhood we're on this quest for permission and approval. Okay, for permission and approval, like everything we do, it begins with this idea of permission and approval because our parents are the ones that have all the power, they're the ones that have all the money, they're the ones that have everything we need. It comes from our parents. And so where this permission and approval, we want to get permission from them, we want to get approval from them, and we carry this all throughout childhood. And there's some rebellion, teenage years, whatever. But as we work into adult, this idea of permission or approval, it doesn't serve us to actually go out and accomplish the things that we want to in life, but we continue to live under this thing of permission and approval. And honestly, just the dead honest truth is that it leads to poverty, it leads to broken relationships, and it doesn't lead to the accomplishment of our dreams when we're always seeking approval. Oh, do you approve of me? Am I good enough? Am I, this? And can I? Oh, can I get permission? And excuse me, we're adults, and we have this thing where we're still kind of acting like children. And I'm not judging you, or I get this. This is something that I think about a lot and fight against. And I guess that's not quite the right word, but just like wrap my mind around differently, that I've got the power to go out and create the life that I want to live, and that's what I want to kind of talk about here. Give yourself permission. I mean, it's really just that simple. Give yourself permission. You don't need permission from anybody else in order to do that. And in fact, Ayn Rand says it like this. She says, it's not about whether or not I'm going to get permission. It's not who's going to give me permission. It's who's going to stop me. Not who do I have to go through in order to see if I can do this thing. It's I'm going to go do this thing, and who's going to stop me. You see that kind of that distinction, that mind shift there of like, no, I'm just going to go after this. If somebody wants to try and stop me, they can, but this is where I'm headed, period. I'm not going to wait for anybody's permission, anybody's approval. And so I'm just going to get started and get this thing done. And you'll notice in a lot of these videos, a lot of what I'm saying is like getting in action, just little small actions to accomplish the thing, because starting is the biggest deal. Whatever it is, I don't care where you're at. You may have been a professional singer for 10 years, but whatever that next step is for you, because we're never fully content, like, oh, well, I'm done, I made it. None of us are there. I've had tons of successes, but I'm always still excited about the next thing, and I think that's fine. There's a certain amount of like, it's just exciting to pursue the next vision and the next goal. So what is the next thing you need to begin, whether you're a beginner or you're a professional? There's actually a Greek proverb that says, it illustrates this point really well. It says, well begun is half done. Well begun is half done. If you can just get in action and get started on something, it's like you're halfway there already. It's just a matter of finishing the last half after that. But getting started is what becomes the most challenging for most of us. Now, this whole idea of, so that's a little bit about permission, and we talked a little bit about that in an earlier video, but this idea of approval. We all want this thing of approval. I don't know what it comes from, but it's like we want people to constantly approve of us and affirm us and affirm us and affirm us. And should I do this? And do I have what it takes? And am I affirmed? And do I have, am I good enough? And all stuff. We're like constantly searching for this. We're like these approval addicts that we're just trying to wring approval out of people constantly and wring acceptance out of people constantly. Again, that's just kind of how we are. But there is a different way, because if you think about it, and this is kind of just like a silly example, and actually Steve Chandler talks about this, is like there's no approval station. You can't like go to the DMV and for them to be like, okay, yeah, come on in. Oh, you want to be a singer? denied. You go, it doesn't exist. So like this constant searching for approval, it's just not resourceful. There's no judgment. It's not bad. There's no bad here. Like, oh, you're dumb if you do this. It's nothing like that. It's just like, it's not a good resource for you in order to attain the vision that you want for your life. That am I good enough it just becomes a waste of time, and it becomes a real kind of stuck place. Do you approve of me? Do I have enough talent to make sense for me to start pursuing this thing, so I'm not just wasting my time, or whatever the thought is for you. Whereas it's just a matter of, do you want it? Then go after it. Like for me, I think you've heard me say, and I said in an earlier video, I was a terrible singer, but I wasn't like looking for, hey, am I good enough to pursue this? Am I good enough to pursue this? I was just like, I'm going to pursue this. And then I became a professional singer for a long time. It's just the want to and moving forward. It's not the permission and approval thing. And trust me, I'm not saying, oh, hey, be like me and I've conquered all this stuff. No, this is still a thing inside of me, but I want to keep real clear of what is important and what's real. And what's real is that when I crank my want to up enough and I'm not worrying about permission or approval or am I good enough, I just do it. That's when I get a different result than the result that I had been getting, which is no result, no success, if that makes sense. So again, to move beyond that fear takes decisive action. To eradicate that fear altogether, do that action over and over and over again, right? You heard me say that in the last video. The last thing is, just another example, is Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, when he first started pursuing film, obviously he was a bodybuilder and he was successful doing that. But he wanted to be a #1 box office star. So this is like in the 70s. We know who he is now, so it's not laughable, but it was a laughable joke back then. Like, what? This big oaf with this weird accent, and he just was not a good actor. He wasn't trained, anything like that, but he wanted to be a #1 box office star. Like, how is that even possible? So anyway, fast forward, he didn't care what people thought. He just kept moving forward. He became a #1 box, around the time of Terminator, he became a #1 box office star. That was his goal. That was his vision. And then he wanted to become the governor. He's not even from California or from the States. He became the governor. It's just like this guy he just had a vision, didn't care what people think, and moved on. And then he was done doing that, and then he became #1 box office star again. Now he's, the new tumor. It's just, anyway, I just love that example of like the underdog just deciding, this is just what I want. I don't care if I have what it takes. What does that even mean? I'm going to go after this thing and I'm going to accomplish it. So anyway, that's the difference between, I just want to talk about the idea of permission and choice. Permission and approval versus I'm just going to choose. This is what I want. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So that's it for this one. Believe in your bigness. There's more in you than you realize. You've heard me say before. For my #1 exercise and some other good techniques and content, go ahead and click here or the link below. And please leave me a comment, because I am writing a book about the psychology of singing and would love to hear from you and would love to kind of cater to that of what you say and while I'm writing the book. And also subscribe if you haven't yet to the channel, so you'll know when the new videos are coming out. And thanks again for watching.